Welcome to another chat on Awakenings, chapter 13. Unlucky for some, not for us. So trust what you know and feel, not your desire. So it starts with what I have found in healthily dealing with projection from another strong viewpoint or verbal attack is a little natural cycle. Receive, feel, release. When something is said or done which creates pain within you, it is natural to feel any number of things: shock, pain, anger, or disappointment. It's like someone throwing mud on your face. It can sting when it hurts. The mistake most people make is that they think the mud belongs to them. It is a reflection of the doubt they feel within, or it can be at least. They begin rubbing it all over their body. They are so distracted by it that they cannot distinguish the mud from themselves. They assume no one else can either. Mud sticks and sets on them and they can't stop talking about it, causing them more pain. They become the mud. So everything we talk about, Linda, as you know, is about self-awareness and distinguishing what's yours and what's not yours. And we naturally, it happens so often, isn't it? It's amazing how when people will claim something, or if someone's emotionally unstable, or if they're reacting, people just blurt out. It can be anything at times. And if someone's hurting, and if they're just triggered easily, then they'll just say whatever hurts your feelings potentially. And I really feel that a lot of the time, just because they are hurting, they just want you to hurt on some level. It's like they want someone to sympathize with them and understand their pain. So they'll just lash out and say whatever may hurt your feelings. And oftentimes they don't actually mean what they say. You just want someone to, on some level, understand them or sympathize. And it becomes all about the person that's suffering. And often the person that's suffering will project pain onto another. And they often struggle to feel, empathize with someone else, although they want other people to sympathize with them. And if you're aware, I really feel that it's important to empathize with the other person, to encourage them to open up. And then from that point of view, they can let their guard down and there can be some sense of mutual understanding.
I was just going to say, I think sometimes people believe that it's the other person that is creating their pain, therefore they want to hurt them back because they feel that the pain comes from someone else that's creating it for them.
100%, yeah, definitely.
So if you hurt me, because whatever you said hurt me, then I'm going to hurt you back.
Exactly. And they feel the person that's hurting them, because they feel that often the person that's easily hurt tends to try and control the environment. And if you don't conform to how they want you to be, they blame you for how they feel. The people that are suffering often, it's amazing how they don't believe they're in charge of their thoughts. They feel like they are a victim of their thoughts, and you or someone else is creating their thoughts. And it's absolutely not like that at all. But especially in long-term relationships, when it becomes potentially resentful. And I've been in relationships, been resentful in the past, over the years, many moons ago, and it comes from both sides. And it's as we've spoken about many times, it's very hard to take responsibility for how you think and feel. And you will never be free from suffering until you begin to. It's as simple as that. There's no other way. There's no other way but becoming accountable for your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And even if it's a conceptual thing that it's like, no, I need to. And if you sound it out, if you try and rationalize it without the emotions railroading these thoughts, it makes perfect sense. When you are 100% accountable for your thoughts, feelings, and actions, which means no matter what anyone does around me, I choose to react or not. I choose what I think. And even if those thoughts go round and around for all day or for a week, I am the one, if that is the case, I am the one that's making my thoughts go around and around. No one else is. No one else is. It's amazing. We've spoken about this before, that what does it take to suffer? It's amazing how often we forget, or how quickly we forget things. For us to continually suffer or be the victim, we must remind ourselves that we are suffering over and over. And for anyone that's suffering or has suffered, and that's pretty much, well, that's everyone, when you look at the process, your mind, it's amazing how often it relive things. It will twist things. It's like the mind is a sadist in a way. It goes into all these scenarios and cross-sectioning all the variations and making up all these things and going on all these stories that often the other person that's seemingly or that's you're blaming has no clue about. I don't. I think it's so rare for, not that it's impossible, but it's so rare that a person that's hurting you or in a relationship with you is conniving and thinking of all the ways they can possibly hurt you. Like it's not really like that, but without awareness, we tend to at times go there. It's amazing, and then without questioning your thoughts, you just blindly believe every whim, every feeling, everything the mind tells you, and it's
I
not
think
like that.
I'll jump in there. I was just thinking, I think even our society supports that though, at the moment, because we're in an era of people being offended at the slightest things, and the political correctness has been taken way too far. So even the culture in our society now is really nurturing that.
Yeah,
Be offended. If someone's not being political, you jump on them.
it's the most fragile state of humanity, I feel,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're right, you're 100% right. Where if you disagree with me, even that not agreeing like straight off, it's like I'm offended because you don't agree with me. There's no reasoning, and yeah, you're right to the point of if you disagree with me, it's basically violence, abuse because you don't agree in a sense. It's like it's
Or you
so
can,
close to that now. Is that sorry?
or you're cancelled. Cancel culture. Don't
Exactly.
agree. They take away your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. Like I see it. I'm not political. I'm into traditional values and things. And in saying that, there's always variances, and men and women have different ways they express and do things, but that does cross over for sure. And there are feminine men and there's masculine women that might be more feminine than other women or other guys, and vice versa. So it's not about, you're not one side or the other. You're a whole. And I keep saying this: we are whole, and we there are times we need to be nurturing and feminine, and there are times when we need to be strong and masculine and protective. And like that's just how it is. It's the balance of energies. You cannot pick and choose. You can pick and choose to some degree how you prefer to be, but I just really feel, and I've spoken about this before, that it's not about suppressing the masculine. It's about we need to be more feminine today in the sense that we need to be nurturing each other, which is a feminine aspect. So it's got nothing to do with squashing anything. It's the world needs nurturing. We need to nurture each other, not blame each other. And it's amazing how at times you may get feminists or women that may talk about toxic masculinity and they're more masculine than a lot of guys potentially. So they're associating it purely with men. It's energies. It's not men
Mm.
per se. So you can embody because we are here. We embody. We can access whatever we choose to within reason, if you're open to that. But you see so many dominating, aggressive people fighting, which is the male aspect. It's digging up the soil. It's breaking new ground. It's um, going forth is necessary as much as the feminine. But it's meant to be harnessed in the right way. And if you're squashing another using the masculine and you're aggressively squashing another, you are being as masculine as anyone. They need to have a good look at themselves in their delivery, ultimately, if that's how they are, and they're saying it's no good, you should be like that. It's like you can't hide behind having a woman's body. What is that? I don't even be started on that. But if you can't hide the fact that you have a feminine vessel in a sense, because our bodies are vessels for the spirit anyway, and not be too caught up in the body. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. People can choose whatever they like, but the more you identify with, the more you suffer. Full stop. So because you're pushing certain things away instead of being whole, you're picking and choosing. And if one was saying toxic masculinity, I'll never be masculine, then you're only having, whether you're a man or a woman, you're only experiencing half of what life has to offer. Why wouldn't you experience the whole thing? And it's like with, I learned through spirituality and certain things and healing years ago that, through your chakras, and a lot of people operate from the lower chakras in a sense, and as you develop within yourself, the higher chakras activate in a sense, and you live from a more wholesome place because you understand more. This is what I've learned and how I feel it is. It's not about learning or leaving the lower centers from behind. It's about living from the highest levels of all your chakras, so to speak. So your base is your worth. Base chakra is your worth, and if people don't really want to be here, in a sense, and they're contemplating exiting this life, so to speak, then you'll find those people have a depleted base chakra. And so if you can pour energy into the base chakra and then give a sense of belonging in a way, and your sacral chakra is sort of expression and sex and all that sort of thing, procreation, that sort of thing. So it's not about leaving all those behind. It's about living from the highest aspects of your chakras. So I'm not going to just go, oh, they're no good. The reason I'm saying that is because men and women express differently in a sense. It's about accessing the highest levels of the feminine and masculine and expressing both of those when needed. But I'd always prefer to, especially when I meet someone, be more feminine and nurturing and loving, and nurture the other person, and not treat them like a baby, but treat them like a human being and like they're special, and allow them and facilitate a space in that for them to be themselves. I think that's the beauty of the feminine aspect. So in general, given the choice, I'd rather be more feminine. That's what the world needs. And irrespective, I feel it's far nicer to be loving and soft and caring and not to say men can't, but it's just that balance of both that we are the combination of both these aspects for sure. So it's about enjoying and enhancing the full experience of living and life. Went on a bit of a tangent from the first couple of paragraphs. So ultimately, it says, what is the benefit to everyone walking around suffering and throwing mud? It's hard to say how to respond or behave in all situations. That's not realistic. What is realistic is a place of integrity you can maintain or at least finish in if you lose yourself in the moment. So this chapter talks about you can lose yourself, you can react and be triggered, which is common these days. But what matters is it's not about suppressing yourself and not being triggered. Like ideally, you want to look at things before you trigger, but sometimes in the way society is, as we've discussed, you don't realize you're being triggered until you're triggered. So what's important is after being triggered is how you resolve it, where you finish. Do you finish with understanding? Do you finish with blame, accusations? And it comes down to, once again, I mentioned in one of my previous chats about my book, where someone said to me in the past, so-and-so is lying to you. And when this person that didn't have full integrity at the time, that was going through their own suffering, they said, I have to have a good look at myself, basically. And my friend said, they're not being honest with themselves. So in a way, it was like saying, well, don't worry about it because they're at fault. They're not even being true to themselves. And so many people think, well, yeah, if you're not going to look at yourself, I'm not going to look at myself. And that was a pretty recent chat anyway. And this is I'm expressing it in a slightly different way. But why would I wait for someone else to look at themselves before I look at myself? It's like I will suffer as long as everyone else suffers. Why? I don't understand that. And I think that sometimes when we hold grudges and we go through our own suffering, that's what the sentiment, without awareness, the sentiment we hold to is, no, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to grow. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to change until you do. And you are essentially saying, I'm going to continue to suffer until you stop suffering. And it's amazing how often they fall into their suffering, and then so they choose to suffer, not look at themselves because someone else isn't in full integrity. And then they create this suffering that they sit in, they immerse themselves into, and the whole time that they've chosen to immerse themselves in their suffering, They are blaming the other person for their suffering. No one hardly thinks about this. But if I choose out of resentment to hold something over another person and lock myself in suffering and blame the other person, that's sort of there's a sense of mental health issues there, big time, because you're escalating, you're maintaining. Well, it's not even maintaining it. You're escalating your suffering at the expense of another, just to try and teach someone else a lesson, and the other person will most likely do the same. The end result's misery. So in this chapter, it talks about, well, no matter what triggers you, what you go through, you have to, at the very end, the final part of a reaction or being triggered is resolving something within yourself. We make it all about the other person, like our own suffering, but it has to come down to being about us. It's got nothing to do with the other person. How we think and feel, and the resolve we have within is solely to do with ourselves. We must free ourselves, irrespective of what the other person is doing. It's really simple. So you may have to cut ties. You may have to express how you're feeling, for sure. But at the end of the day, you have to find some form of peace, some form of closure, or a way forward. If there is no way forward seemingly, and you don't express and you just hold something over another person, there is no way through. Seek some understanding of the other person. And the other entrapment is, when we seek understanding from another person, we are not agreeing with them. Essentially, we are just seeking understanding of the other person, what they may have been through or what's going on within their mind. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of people and their ways. Hardly anyone, to be honest. Not all the time, for sure. But I understand how they can come to certain decision making, and you can. So everyone can make sense of their choices, but it doesn't mean necessarily that their choices make sense. A paragraph in this chapter goes on to say, if you are accused of something you know you didn't do and they are not open to you, I'd say in most cases, stand strong in your knowing, intuition, or heart. Your heart, your honor, your integrity is worth expressing and standing up for. It doesn't mean you have to abuse the other person. You may just say, no, sorry, I don't agree with that, or it doesn't sit with me, or I'm not going to engage in that. I'm not going to entertain those ideas. And if you're triggered, you're better starting with something like that rather than trying to arm wrestle someone. And as you go deeper in yourself, you can express how you feel in that time to offer some understanding. But once again, if they're not open, you keep it as short as possible, because ultimately when we express, it's for our freedom and our expression. It's not necessarily about forcing anyone to take a bite of what we have to offer. It's about just offering something freely in a way that can be grasped by the other person if they're willing. So the good news is you can break the negative cycle in which most are caught and set yourself free from the turmoil from another's ideas or projections, ceasingly acting or reacting without any real sense of control. So this is how you gain control, is by taking a step back, not engaging in convincing the other person, especially when they're not open to you. Because then it just comes down to a play of trying to get you to submit or trying to squash you on some level. Not to get this confused with if you've done something wrong or if you've been inconsiderate, then there's a time to apologize. But when you have integrity and you're sitting well in yourself, then don't be submissive, in my opinion, from this place. Doesn't mean you have to be aggressive either. You just don't buy into their stuff when you've had full integrity. So in my experience now, when the mud hits, there is, of course, an initial reaction, and I express, depending on the pain, the accusation or misunderstanding in the situation that I feel from another. I don't get all encased in their ideas and proceed to rub it all over to myself. Usually I'll make them aware of how they are addressing me and let them know how it makes me feel. It can be hard to check in with how you feel in the moment, but you still need to check in. And sometimes it may be just after you walk away. So it says in this paragraph, other times, if they are completely close or aggressive, I may react to create some space so I can leave or at least prohibit their invasion of my space. But as soon as you get a chance, stop and feel. The longer you take, the longer you are bound by the experience. I sit with it, feel it, try to get a sense of their pain and the momentum behind it. not to minimize another's suffering, but this process gets easier and easier as you become clearer within. This is the pathway to true understanding, allowing yourself to process and let go. So if you're triggered by someone and if they're not open to you, walk away or get to a space where you feel safe and process it. Self-reflect, see how you feel within yourself, see what you desire in your heart, and you'll find that you don't really want to hurt anyone. If you're angry and you're triggered, you might want, screw them, or you might think whatever. But ultimately, when you look deeply, you don't want to hurt anyone. And it's falling into that softness of yourself. That's a space where you can let go of the resentment or some of the animosity or some of the self-doubt that you have within yourself. It's about getting in touch with your heart. That's the way through. And it's easy to say in a sense, but one might ask, how do you do that? Well, go for a walk by the beach, listen to some nice, soft music, something that gets you in touch with how you feel, not the heavy metal or anything like that. I wouldn't recommend that unless that gets you in touch with your feelings and softness, depending on the type of heavy metal potentially. But there's a time and place for certain types of music, but it's the soft music that helps you soften and feel, and not the one that gets you hyped up for war or for weight training or something like that, of course. So it's about doing something, even slowing down and being gentle with yourself. Or if you make yourself a drink or food, treat it like a ritual where you're very gentle, very soft, because often, and we've all seen people that are angry in the kitchen, they bang their dishes, everything's aggressive and loud and harsh. That's a reflection of how they're feeling clearly within themselves. So it can work the other way, where if you slow right down, and if you're making something or in the kitchen or you're doing something, if you slow down and be consciously gentle when you do things, it is a deep way of nurturing yourself. And you will find out in that space, if you have anger issues or carry resentment or lack self-worth, if you're trying to be gentle and soft while you're doing things, your mind will start going crazy in a way. Like it'll resist that nurturing. On some level, you may feel like it doesn't deserve it, but everyone does. Everyone in those spaces where you're trying to go into your heart and become softer. When you create, or your mind's trying to avoid that, a great thing to do is keep in that space of being slow and nurturing, and write down everything your mind's telling you, no matter how harsh, no matter what it's saying, no matter who it's blaming. Write it down. It's a great way to reveal where your mind goes. It's all about becoming aware. And even if in that moment, when you're writing down your thoughts or reactions, your feelings, and it's aggressive and abusive, whether to you or to yourself or to another inwardly, when you go back and read it, even if you just can't sift through it in that moment, you'll get a sense, that deeper awareness of where your mind can take you. And then you will start, when you're in a better place, you can think, wow, that's full on. That's crazy. Don't judge yourself for being crazy. It's not you being crazy. It's the thoughts. And it needs to be seen through. It's a great way. And you should not identify with your thoughts. They are not you. They're an opportunity to go deeper in yourself. And without awareness, we identify, we think we are our thoughts. We are not. We are a spiritual being living an amazing experience. And we're tested from all sides. And thoughts are just one of those tests. And you'll find as you go deeper in yourself, the thoughts will not have you. And they're only your thoughts as long as you claim them to be yours. So you better off thinking, wow, where did that thought come from? And that's amazing. Okay, and this is garbage. And just look at it, look through it, like you're tuning into a radio station, in the sense that's consciousness you're tuning into. You're not conjuring necessarily all these thoughts. You're just receptive to them. And as you raise your vibration through awareness, the radio station will tune into a new station that's more uplifting over a period of time. So you have to be patient with yourself. So this is more in this chapter. I found there are two key points that need to be grasped in not buying into another's turmoil to facilitate letting go. The first point is that we can rarely prove an aggressor wrong, even if they are wrong. If they were open to receive you, their whole approach would be different. trying to convince them your view may be seeking their approval. This competition can potentially feed them and create turmoil for the both of you, ultimately draining everyone. They cannot have the upper hand here unless you give it to them. Alternately, with two strong personalities, it can be like a tug of war. You waste a lot of energy and no one wins. And winning is never about hurting one more than the other. True victory is about understanding the pain and confusion within you, therefore releasing it. When journeying to the place of softness, resolution, peace, and acceptance of who you are, it's best to always take the moral high ground. Be the first to rise above. Try not to buy into the emotion and stop the dramatic cycle. The second point is that you are not at the core of their pain. You may be a trigger for it, either directly or indirectly. So now how do you respond to actually release the burden you're feeling? Responding through pain will not allow you to set yourself free. At the core of your heart, you are a great lover, nurturer, extremely soft, compassionate, and understanding. This is your natural way. Anything that doesn't align with this truth causes you to suffer. So there's a difference between your natural way and your conditioned way. So the whole point is to break through your conditioning and become natural, which is effortless. It's amazing. To suffer, it takes effort. You must use effort to break through the effort that causes suffering so you become more natural. And as you go deep within yourself, you just naturally will not buy into your thoughts because you can't be bothered. It's just, understand it's a waste of time and the thoughts are not you, as mentioned before. You may feel a sense of release to retaliate, but it is a temporary fix and will often be followed by guilt. You are actually compounding your pain. It's best to understand the aggressor is suffering and that it is not personal in order to access this next step and release yourself from the hurt you may also feel. But until that understanding kicks in, knowing this process will curb the momentum and is worth practicing. So just knowing this is the process will help over a period of time. And that's a step in the right direction. That's a great starting point. I go to the softest part within me and feel that place is not angry or seeking vengeance. It is deeper. It feels the pain and sadness like an open wound. I'm okay to feel this. It won't break me. Although I don't bathe in it or rub it all over me, it merely gives me a clearer sense. It shows me what I need to let go of and heal. This is accessing your heart. So if you're still dealing with this person from here, from this space of feeling your heart, you need to express back to the person that which releases you, not them. This means your whole approach will be different. It will come from softness with no attachment, seeking no approval. This last statement can be easily misinterpreted. This soft place can also be a firm no, or it's over. That place within knows what you need and how to deliver it. This will only deepen and become clearer the more you trust it and discover yourself. The distinguishing factor is heart doesn't condemn. It's not who we think we are that really matters, since we are all the same underneath. Ultimately, we have the same heart. It's the choices we make and how we choose to live that matters. As we align ourselves with the truth within us, everything else begins to fall into alignment, ultimately impacting our friends, family, and environment. So the biggest thing is, and just I feel bear this in mind, when you are expressing with someone that's accusing you of anything, be soft within yourself and express yourself to release how you're feeling, not to condemn them. It's not to convince them. So sometimes you may need to get something off your chest, and the deeper you go into your heart, the better. So you express to liberate yourself. And if you're ultimately expressing to hurt someone else, you're not looking to liberate yourself. It's a power play. So it's about coming from a place that they don't need to understand, but you need to say. It's a way of enabling yourself to let go and just clear the air, so to speak. And that can be and should be ultimately done from a place of softness and understanding, although it's not always realistic. Sometimes it might be just a no and walk away, or it's over. But it still comes from a place of understanding, deep understanding. So anything to add to that, Linda?
No.
All right.
No.
All right, cool. Thanks for listening to chapter 13 of my book. Sorry, I do apologize again. It's been a little while since the last one, but had a few things on, plenty happening, but we're not going anywhere. We're still going to continue doing this, and we're going to amp things up. put another recording this afternoon, won't we? So, yeah, I heard a woo. I thought, was that a hang up or was that a woo?
No,
Was that?
that was me saying, "Ooh, we get to do another recording."
Okay.
But I think it's also the last chapter of the book, isn't it?
There's 2 to go. 15 is like a meditation. So that's all good. Thanks for listening to another chat on awakenings, and we'll look forward to the next one. Bye for now.
If you'd like to hear more, you can find me on Spotify, YouTube, or Podbean. Please like and subscribe.